isn't quite filled, the nick or the scratch, you can go back and make a little more and put some more in. See how it filled all those little nicks and scratches? It'd really stand out on a new paint job if you hadn't done that. Now, if you don't have one of those little vibrating sanders, that's okay. We've got a hard rubber sanding block. We put the 180 paper on there, and holding that flat against the panel, same thing, just sanding it down. If you don't get it all the first time, that's okay. You can make up a little more. But see how it feathers and smooths the edges? Nice smooth edge. So when we put primer on it after a while and then paint, you'll never be able to tell it was done. Holding it flat, changing the sandpaper often. The glazing putty just stays in the places that are a little bit low. There again, 180 sandpaper, very fine, very smooth. As you can see, we've masked off the areas that we don't want any of the primer on. Just a little newspaper and 3/4 inch masking tape. Take our standard can of spray primer, shake it well, follow the directions on the can, but basically that's overlapping light coats. Try to get some build up there slowly. Letting it flash or dull a little bit between each coat. 3, 4, 5 coats are okay. Just trying to get as smooth as finish as we can before we go on to the next sanding step. After that gray primer is dry, we're going to take, in this case, red primer. It's the same product, it's just a different color. We're going to give a light coating over the whole area that we put the gray primer on. That'll be what we call our guide coat. That'll guide us in our final sanding of this door. Once all the red's been sanded off, we'll know that we've sanded the whole door thoroughly. Otherwise, you can miss spots because it's hard to tell in a gray color. There again, just as a guide, it doesn't do any filling. And we've removed our masking paper. Let it thoroughly dry. A couple of hours, depending on the temperature and climate. With these spray cans, after you're through spraying, be sure you turn the can upside down and spray until just clear air comes out. Otherwise you'll clog the tip and won't be able to reuse the can. After our primer and guide coat are thoroughly dry, now we're going to go from the 180 sandpaper we used earlier to the 400 sandpaper. 400 sandpaper you can paint right over. So I've got a rubber sanding block. We're going to be using rubber sanding block and some water, rags to keep it wet to wash away the sanding dust as we go. We're going to fine sand this whole panel until all the red primer's gone, which time we'll know it's been thoroughly sanded, ready for paint. Bucket of water and a rag, holding the sanding block flat against the panel, just back and forth, up and down, all directions. Lots of water. Just sand till your guide coat's gone. And even at this point, if you see that you might have missed a couple little pinholes or nicks or scratches, you can make up a little more of that glazing putty, refill those holes, sand again. Now we're going to take the same 400 grit sandpaper, fine sandpaper, on a real soft block. We're going to use that for catching edges and corners and that kind of thing. Everything has to be well sanded for our paint to adhere, but the hard sanding block doesn't fit up in there real well, so we use the soft one now. Now we're going to go around and catch all our edges, if we have any paint buildup of any kind or anything. You can paint right over 400 sandpaper, so we're going to go around and sand. I see we have a small edge here. We're going to what we call feather edge. Smooth that back. Just smooth that back. And you can tell quickly when it's smoothed back. There's no sharp edge. When we put the final top coat on, it'll just blend right over it. Try to get little edges and corners best you can. Try to stay off the chrome. There again, lots of water. Wash down the sanding residue. Now we take a red, in this case the brand name is Scotch-Brite, but any of the fine sanding pads. This is even more flexible, this pad. So wet it down good. Now we're going to really catch all the edges and corners. See how we can reach in? This is just so important here. We've got to scuff all these areas down, then our new paint will just stick excellent to this. If we don't do that, this is where the problems start. Paint starts peeling away. This is time well spent right now. An hour or two right now guarantees a really quality job. There again, see, we've got the rough finish down on the rocker panels. Works just excellent. Just getting everything scuffed up, everything cleaned up. Cleaning up here like the chip guard paint on the rocker panels. Now here is the fender that we've done in the car earlier. It's the same procedure. Go around, fill the little dings, and prime it well, and as you can see, feather edge it back. Here's the car thoroughly sanded, ready for the next step. All the edges smoothed back and feather edged. See how clean, scuffed up, ready for the new paint. Now we're going to take a 1/4 inch masking tape, because it's real subtle and bends easily around edges and corners. And we're going to mask off the areas that we don't want paint to get on. We outline it in this small tape and then fill it in with 3/4 inch tape. And the real large areas we mask it off, outline it with the small tape and then fill it in with newspaper. Any area we don't want paint to get on, be sure you mask off. If you don't feel comfortable doing this part of the work, you can have the paint shop actually mask the car off for you. But with just a little bit of practice, you'll be doing a professional job. Here's the car, ready for the next step, the paint job. It's all been masked off, all the little door dings, scratches filled in, taken care of. It's all been primed, wet sanded, and ready to go. Here's our car back from the paint shop. We've just laid out some of the miscellaneous things that are available to use on cars. A lot of it we'll be using here in the next little while. Glues and tapes and pinstripes and miscellaneous things. These are the little things that really detail and finish off and give a quality look to your paint job. You can see clearly plastic and emblem adhesive. We're going to glue back on certain moldings that were glued on. This particular molding has a couple of locator studs to help us put it back in the same place. And we've got our two-phase tape. Glue on both sides, so you can glue it down on something, peel the backing off, and glue it onto wherever you want it to permanently adhere to. This is a close-up picture of our body side moldings. We've cut it off with a hacksaw. We've got various ends. Here's some wheel opening moldings that we purchased. It already has a two-phase tape attached to it. You just peel it back and it's a real sticky surface. You stick it on a clean surface, it's on for good. This is a door edge molding in this case. Just does what it says, protects the door edge of your car, and so you don't damage anyone else's car when you open your door. Very flexible, long lasting, gives a nice finished look. Pop rivet gun with 1/8 inch rivets. You have to always pre-drill an 1/8 inch hole for these. Here's one brand of striped